Good morning! So today Kieran and I are going to the gym. That's making noise.
Sorry.
Do you want to explain what we're doing today at the gym?
We're doing deadlifts first, and then pause squats, and then I guess are you doing what you said you wanted to do? I was going to do upper body accessories for the rest of the workout, and you want to do legs for the rest of the workout, so we'll just split after pause squats.
We'll film what he's doing and then what I'm doing, so you guys see what we did once we separated. Did you bring your pre-workout? I brought
Put it in my jar. Whoa, 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 what are you doing there?
Doing 2 scoops.
Jeez, what have we got in here for caffeine? Well, I don't know if, have you ever done 2 scoops of this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Lots of times.
Okay, that's 320 milligrams of caffeine, just so you know.
And is that high?
A medium coffee is like 160. So that's 2 medium coffees in 1 bottle. Okay. I usually give you half a scoop of mine, and you just did a full.
Clarissa just likes to bounce off the walls. Is it blood?
I don't know, it looks like a cherry.
Why would a cherry be in your shoe?
Like a cherry tomato. It looks like something's on it, not blood.
We're gonna start with a little warm up. So we're gonna walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. So Kieran just ran to the bathroom, and I'm gonna start with some stretches for my hips and my like legs, hamstrings, and all that. So I don't injure myself. God, it's loud. I really hope you can hear me. I'm starting off with some stretches here to open up my hips a little bit more and just get the blood flow in my lower body. So I'm doing pigeon with a little push up and push down to relieve some of the pressure in each side of my hip. I learned this stretch at physio, and I've always done pigeon growing up being in dance class and everything, but the pushing up and pushing down really does help. Kind of take it a little bit of a step further. Then I'm doing, I guess this would be called a frog stretch, leaning forwards, pushing my chest kind of to the ground so my hips push back and down a little bit further as well. And then I reach to both sides to kind of get a stretch in my back as well. This next stretch that I'm performing here is the 90-90 hip mobility variation, and I actually learned this one at physio, and let me tell you, if I had a short amount of time to stretch, this would definitely be in my top 3 stretches that I'd pick to do. It's just awesome if you have difficulty with internal rotation at your hip joint, and it releases some of the tightness in that muscle, and it externally rotates the hips, so it really helps when you're about to squat. I hold this stretch for about 30 seconds each side, and then I move on to the next one, which is where I just sit back, put one of my legs up over my knee, and feel again that stretch in my hips, and I believe my hamstring in this one, and then I just do a little bit of back, cat and cow. I always do a little bit of a back stretch as well on leg days. And lastly, I just move on to some lunges. It is so hard to focus this camera when there's writing on the wall because the camera just automatically wants to focus on the wall. Anyway, I'm gonna quickly warm up my glutes a little bit more with a heavy resistance band. Kieran is looking at his spreadsheet of what the order of, or I guess the sequence of exercises we're doing in what order. So I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna start deadlifting.
Okay, so for most of the training part of the clips, we're going to be doing a voiceover just because the gym got pretty loud. So just to start, I probably should do some more stretching like Clarissa, but I go right into the bar. Just checking my spreadsheet now to see what I'm actually working with for the day, and Clarissa's gonna continue doing some hip stretches and mobility. She did her warm-up sets prior, and she's working with her first set right now. She's gonna be doing 4 sets of 5 reps. Clarissa is working with 115 pounds here, and from afar I'm just watching her form, and for most sets I'll be doing that more in the clips. She's working with lighter weight right now because she's just new back to deadlifting. From a while back she took it off for her back. She had a lat problem, so after physio she's just trying to get back into it, working with light weights and trying to get the form perfect with pushing her hips through and setting her lats, and when she gets in position getting her back to about a 45-degree angle and then breaking at the hips at the top. So usually for my warm-ups I'll start with the bar, and then I'll go 135, 185, 225, and then I'm usually working in the high 200s or the low 300s, so I'll work up from there as I feel. I usually throw my belt on around 225. Here I'm watching Clarissa's set and giving her some feedback. Sometimes she'll push the bar out too far over her toes and without keeping in the center of gravity over the middle of her foot. She will also break unevenly sometimes where her shoulders and arms will drop before her hips have broken yet, so it's almost motion in two parts instead of being one fluid motion down from her lockout.
Now we're doing pause squats, and it's funny because the setup of this squat rack when I first came to this gym ever, I could not figure out how to get like the setting of the height in the correct hole. And Jeremy Hamilton, who owns this gym with Crystal, literally came over and said, Clarissa, I can't see you struggling, I need to help you. And I couldn't get this in the correct hole. Like, it was just so complicated for me to figure out, and now I figured it out. I'm going to do a little bit more of warming up with my glutes before we start squatting and doing like some leg swings and stuff, just to get some more blood flow. So I have really tight hips and I need to stretch them a lot in order for them not to be any discomfort when I'm squatting, stuff like that. So it's really, really important that you do stretch before and after on any day, not just leg day. But I did learn a lot more through my physiotherapist on certain exercises to open up my hips more and exercises that were good for that.
Next, we moved on to pause squats. We were going to do pause on the halfway down squats, but during the warm-ups, Clarissa felt weird, or she said she wasn't really getting how it was done, so we just switched to pause in the hole after these warm-up sets.
One, two. 1, 2.
Kieran and I are going to split off and do different things. So I'm going to continue doing some accessory movements on the cables, and then Kieran's going to be doing some back, biceps, and...
What are you thinking about chest?
So he's using this nice machine from Fortis. And he said he's just testing his setup to make sure it's at his liking. I'm moving on with another leg exercise, and I'm doing a glute isolation movement. So this one's a cable glute kickback, and I believe I did 4 sets of 10 reps. Look, babe, I went so hard I'm bleeding.
Weren't you doing cable kickbacks?
Yeah.
Really fucked my finger.
You can't even tell.
Doing a butt exercise and
like
hurting your finger. 265
before
free
tax?
shipping. Yeah, free shipping 265 before tax. I think I'm gonna wait for the 4s.
Moving on to the next leg movement, I'm doing a cable pull through with the rope, and I'm making sure I squeeze really tight at the top, not trying to use my arms to do much of the work, and then slow release at the bottom.
On this lat pull down, I really like this mag grip attachment that the gym has, and I also use a Cobra grips to take my forearms out of the movement, so it's really focused on the lats, almost like a hook.
The last movement that I am doing to complete my workout is the single leg dumbbell RDL, and I like doing this one kind of as the finisher on glute and hamstring days because I feel a really good connection and stretch.
For my secondary tricep movement in the program, I like to do some kind of overhead press to get a different range of motion and stretch, and then I'm just finishing off with some cable curls.
Okay, so after my workout, I always write a little thank you note to Jeremy at the gym because I don't normally train here, and he lets me train here often when Kieran trains here. We have the same schedule, so I write a little note and then I leave it under the door. I always date it too. What day is it? 16? Alright, so we're going to conclude this video then. I'm probably going to say this in the voiceover. It got a little too loud and you most definitely couldn't hear me towards the end of mine and Kieran's, what are they called? Exercises.